This is Johnny, the chubby, Caucasian, Christian, closeted conservative. Some might say I'm everything wrong with the world, but don't take their word for it. Make up your own mind. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chubby Caucasian Christian Closeted Conservative. Since my last episode, I have read a few Fauci files, but I haven't really come across anything too interesting. I've posted a few on Facebook, but again, nothing too interesting. Since my last episode, we've also had the 20th anniversary of 9/11. That day was very tough for me. I was young at the time. I was in school, and I just remember being terrified. And with the current situation in Afghanistan now, one can't help but be a little worried. And I have watched and read and listened to so much of the fiasco that is Afghanistan. And some of the articles and people that I've heard talk are trying to control the narrative. So let's chew the fat on how the media is trying to save President Joey from the Afghan fiasco. So I posted this article on my Facebook. It's titled, Fact Check Biden Honored Service Members Killed in Kabul, Checked Watch During a Ceremony. The claim is that Donald Trump saluted the casket of fallen U.S. service members while Joe Biden checked his watch. One of the best parts about this article is that they have to make a correction and clarification. This article was posted on September 1st, 2021, and they actually have to make a correction and clarification on September 2nd, the day after. Already, this is suspicious. We're reading this article for a fact check, but they had to fact check themselves within 24 hours of this article being posted. And here's the correction and clarification. This story was updated September 2nd to note that Joe Biden checked his watch multiple times at the dignified transfer event, including during the ceremony itself. The rating on this claim has been changed from partly false to missing context. Further down this article, it says, Biden has taken heat from all sides of the chaotic evacuation of U.S. troops, citizens, and allies from Afghanistan. But the meme, they're fact-checking this meme that shows Donald Trump saluting caskets while Joe Biden checking his watch. So it says, but this meme's comparison between Trump saluting and Biden checking his watch is missing context. Just in case you were confused when you were watching the dignified transfer ceremony and Joe Biden checked his watch, you were missing context. You didn't fully understand what was happening at the time. The USA Today article is able to confirm that Biden checked his watch at least 3 times. While Biden did pay his respect to the fallen service members, photos and videos show he also checked his watch during the ceremony. They talk about one specific situation where he looks at his watch. At this point, everyone else in the video also stands at ease, indicating that the ceremony is over. So the ceremony was over. That makes it okay that he's allowed to check his watch. Darren Hoover, who is a father of one of the Marines who died in this incident, who was at the transfer ceremony, said that Biden looked at his watch every time a casket was presented. Then, this is my favorite part of the article. This is my favorite part. USA Today was unable to independently verify exactly how many times Biden looked at his watch. That line alone means that this whole article is BS. This whole fact check is BS. And finally, we get the great results from USA Today that it's missing context. Based on our research, we must rate missing context that claim that Trump saluted the caskets of fallen U.S. service members while Biden checked his watch. The way Biden honored the 11 caskets presented at Dover Air Force Base with a hand over his heart was similar to how Trump paid respects to fallen service members during his presidency. However, Biden did check his watch at least 3 times, according to photos and videos reviewed by USA Today. Several family members of fallen service members who attended the ceremony have criticized Biden for checking his watch. This article makes me so mad. USA Today was such in a hurry to go and cover Joe Biden's butt. Again, I am not mad at Joe Biden. Joe Biden is, I believe he is sick. The man has no idea what's going on, and we're getting to the point where this might be elder abuse. I talked about that in my last episode. But USA Today was such in a hurry to try and fact check this, to cover this guy's butt, that not only did they have to make a clarification correction within 24 hours, but they also said that they couldn't independently verify exactly how many times Biden looked at his watch. So I'm supposed to believe USA Today over Darren Hoover, who's the father of Marine Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover Jr., who was killed over in Afghanistan because of decisions that Joe Biden made. I'm supposed to believe USA Today, who told me that they can't verify that, over Darren Hoover. Darren Hoover says that he looked at his watch multiple times. It says it just in the paragraph before USA Today says that they can't verify how many times he looked at his watch. And then I am told that this is missing context. Again, I'm not angry at Joe Biden. I don't have hate in my heart like Democrats and liberals and radical progressives do. I don't wish harm on Joe Biden or his family. What makes me angry is how the media depicts this story. The hypocrisy, how they are so quick to run to save Joe Biden. They couldn't even fact check this whole watch thing. They had to add Trump into it. You see what I'm saying? They couldn't just go out and fact check saying that no, it's missing context. Joe Biden didn't actually look at his watch. They had to compare these two pictures, one of Trump saluting and one of Joe Biden looking at his watch, and then people making comparisons over those saying, look how one. They had to say, no. When you look at these two photos, it's missing context because Trump is saluting here. You found the best picture of him, and over here you found the worst picture of Joe Biden, which might have actually been after the ceremony had ended. Do you see what I'm saying here? They couldn't just come out and fact check Joe Biden checking his watch because they're unable to independently verify how many times he checked his watch. This whole article is BS. It's on my Facebook. Go look it up. Now, you know what's even scarier is Sky News Australia did a segment on this very article. And let me tell you what. If Australia can see the bias in our media and how weak and frail Joe Biden is and how the media is tripping and knocking and falling into each other like the Three Stooges just to keep his head above water, you better believe that our enemies and the hostile actors abroad, people who hate us, who chant death to America, are aware of it as well. Now, in this clip, you're actually going to hear a reporter of Sky News Australia. And then they're going to play part of the Darren Hoover interview with Sean Hannity. Darren Hoover lost his son in the terrorist attack at the Kabul airport.
And Facebook in particular actually purely relies on third-party fact-checkers to police its platforms. These fact-checkers have immense power and responsibility. We have seen what happens to Sky News if someone thinks that what we have published is misinformation. It can result in suspensions or even terminations of the right to enter the town square of digital debate and discussion. In this case, Daniel Funk became the spreader of misinformation he supposedly dedicated his career to stamping out. Soon after Daniel Funk declared the watch-checking claims to be false, families of the soldiers killed during Joe Biden's botched Afghanistan exit had spoken of the heartbreak and pain of seeing their president do what Funk described as misinformation.
In reference to the checking of his watch, that didn't happen just once. That happened on every single one that came out of that airplane. It happened on every single one of them. They would release the salute and he looked down at his watch on every last one, all 13.
But don't worry, Eric ran to Twitter in an attempt to save his own skin.
Biden checked his watch multiple times during the ceremony. I regret my error. And when the social media pylon didn't slow down, he further hit back with this. It's easy to dunk on journalists when we get things wrong. I get it. To many, we're just another name on the screen. But behind that screen is a person trying to do their best. So you're the victim now, Daniel, not the families of dead soldiers you insinuated were lying and just a wish-washy assurance that you were trying to do your best.
Now, can we find common ground here that when a news network says that they can't independently verify, that maybe it might not be factual? Am I allowed to question this article, or is it because it's USA Today that I have to believe it? Something else that we can find common ground on. Something I would like to find common ground on is, can we take Darren Hoover for his word at what happened during the ceremony? Think about it. Can we take his word at what happened during the ceremony. This man gave his son died. And because maybe he said Joe Biden looked at his watch every time a casket came down, he's automatically a white supremacist Donald Trump voter. The media is going to carry Joe Biden's water throughout his entire presidency, whether that's 4 or 8 years. And again, like I said in my last episode, I don't hate Joe Biden. I don't think about blowing up the White House like Madonna does. I want Joe Biden to do very well, because when Joe Biden succeeds, America succeeds. And when America succeeds, its citizens succeeds. And my son and his grandchildren are going to be better off. So I want Joe Biden to do well. Now, personally, I think Joe Biden is sick. I've said that several times. I think the man is sick, and I don't think he was the best person for the job, even out of the Democratic side. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. This USA Today article says it's missing context. What context? What is the context? That yes, Trump and Biden both showed respect to the fallen service members during a transfer ceremony. Okay, hopefully we can agree that both of them being there, giving somber looks, saluting, hand over their heart, being respectful. But I didn't hear anything about Donald Trump checking his watch, and heaven forbid if he did, we would still be hearing about it. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. And the media, they're just going to fall all over each other trying to protect this man, trying to cover up this man. Look at what USA Today did. They published the story way too early. They had to go back and make correction and clarification. And then when you actually read the whole story, they don't want you to read the whole story. They want you to scroll all the way to the bottom to see what their fact check actually is, what the results are. They say that they can't independently verify. Can you imagine if Sean Hannity did that? This USA Today article was written by a Daniel Funke. And I was able to find his work email account, and I have emailed him asking about what corrections and clarifications were made during the article, because this little comment at the top doesn't really do it justice. And then I also asked if he had any just personal comments about him writing this article or doing research for it. Now, my next example of the media just covering for Joe Biden is an Intelligencer article written by Eric Levitz. I've also reached out to Mr. Levitz as well for a comment on this article. Now, all right, there is some missing context in this article. This article was written August 25th. So it was published August 25th. So we have about 24 hours before the terrorist attack in Kabul. That doesn't happen until August 26th. All right. So this guy is writing this article under the false impression that everything in Afghanistan is okay. The article is titled "The Media Manufactured Biden Political Fiasco in Afghanistan. Straight News Has chosen sanctimony over circumspection." And right away, the first sentence just tells you the time frame that this happened. America's withdrawal from Afghanistan has yet to cost our nation a single casualty. Could not find any correction or clarification for this article, which is another reason why I reached out to Mr. Levitz for a comment. It talks about how the evacuations of U.S. citizens and allies at Kabul's airport are proceeding at a faster pace than the White House had promised. It then goes on to compare, on the streets of Kabul, order and quiet have replaced rising crime and violence. Meanwhile, the Taliban is negotiating with former Afghan president over the establishment of an inclusive government acceptable to the Afghans. Now, I don't know if anybody has seen any of this inclusive government, but it doesn't exist. All the people on it are from the old Taliban. The only thing that is more inclusive about it is that there was a younger guy on it, and I think he was 48. This guy goes on to say, this Politico fiasco is not a development that the media has covered so much as one that it has created. So this guy's argument basically is that the media is reporting this in a way to control the narrative negatively towards Joe Biden. Just after that sentence, the next sentence says, the Biden administration has some genuine errors of contingency planning. Now, this guy states in his article that this is not true at all. Before its collapse, the Afghan government had pressured the United States to limit its evacuation efforts as to avoid broadcasting the message that America deemed a Taliban victory inevitable. That's not true at all, because Joe Biden had said months earlier that we would be out of Afghanistan on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. He then goes on to list 3 ways that the media has controlled the narrative of this story. They have openly editorialized against the White House's policy. Number 2, they've assigned Biden a near total responsibility for the final collapse of the proto-failed state his predecessor has established. Of course, you know, we can't actually talk about this story without getting a jab in on Donald Trump. Number 3 is that they reported on the potential political cost of Biden's action as though they were not actively imposing that cost through their own speculations about just how politically damaging the president's failures of competence and empathy would prove to be. Then, one of the best parts about this is he goes on to call out certain people and news networks that have reported this incorrectly in his eyes. The best part is Fox News is not listed on here once. He goes on to call out the New York Times, NBC News, CNN, CBS News, and the Times. Towards the end of this article, he states, one can critically report on concrete failings in the Biden administration's withdrawal plan, but one cannot presume Biden's responsibility for every negative consequence that follows from ending a misbegotten war and deserves the title journalist. I want this guy to email me back. That is all we saw in the 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency, was people critiquing minor failures in his administration and presuming responsibility for every negative consequence onto Donald Trump. That would include COVID. We saw it happen time and time again with COVID. It was all Trump's fault. One thing I do find a little humorous about this article is the amount of time that this guy spent on a irrelevant article. When this article was published, less than 24 hours later, the majority of this article is irrelevant. If he wants to try to, say that the media is biased, which is the conservative argument, it really blows my mind when liberals do it because it doesn't make any sense. You own everything. But you have to think, the amount of research and reading video clips and notes that I take to produce this show, the amount of time that I take to edit the audio, I mean, to write 4 pages, this guy must have spent hours, if not a whole day. And secondly, I don't see how this guy could sit there and write this article and not notice that he is the only one taking the other opinion. I mean, you got CNN, CBS, all of these other left-leaning media outlets, and you're going to critique them and almost, I would say 100%, do what you are accusing them of doing, and then within 24 hours, it would 100% be irrelevant and would basically prove that you were incorrect in your opinion, which would make your article an opinion piece, which is what you said others were doing. He ignored the actual events that were taking place in Afghanistan, did not do his research, or just completely blocked out the previous views of the Taliban, and had tunnel vision to save his beloved Joey Biden. And my question to the New York Mag and to the Intelligencer is, how is this individual, and if this individual is going to be held accountable? Anyhow, that is going to wrap me up for today. I'm now on Alexa. I know, Mom. I finally made it big. You can ask your Alexa to play the Chubby Caucasian Christian Closeted Conservative podcast, and she will play my most recent episode. You can also search me on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. You can even Google me. Just search the Chubby Caucasian Christian Closeted Conservative and look for my eagle. I actually had a family member paint that eagle, and I loved it so much that she gave me the original. My cover art of it does not do it justice at all. She just painted a new picture. It's very similar to my eagle, but it's clutching the American flag. It's very beautiful. She's very talented. She has a Redbubble account, and you can get her artwork on travel mugs, backpacks, t-shirts, just about anything. So head on over to Redbubble, and you're going to search Robin N. Brown. That's Robin as in the bird, the letter N, and Brown as the color. A link to her Redbubble account will also be in my description. So head on over there, check out some of her beautiful work, maybe get it on a travel mug, especially the eagle with the American flag. I mean, there's nothing more patriotic than that. Again, I want to start a conversation with my audience, so please rate, like, comment, subscribe. You can actually look me up on Anchor as well. You can go to my Anchor account, which will be in the description. It's on my Facebook. You can go to Anchor and search the Chubby Caucasian Christian Closeted Conservative, and you can actually leave a voicemail. It's very cool. The only downside is that you can only leave a voicemail up to a minute. So if you have more than a minute worth of comments to say, I encourage you to leave multiple messages. I would like to encourage everybody to just stay in prayer and meditation. If our country ever needed to grow closer to the Lord, this would be the time. And we just ask the Lord that he just gives wisdom to all of our leaders, local, federal, our bosses, Lord. And we ask that you just protect our citizens, first responders, and troops wherever they are. Amen. And we will see you later.